So is there a change coming? Is there a transformation, so to speak? Well, it seems that way, at least to me. And that's not even just according to my own thoughts. Did you know that Dominic Williams, who is the founder of Dfinity, recently made a post indicating how Dfinity is transforming? And I'll talk about that all in today's video, even though the price hasn't been doing the best. I'll get into that part later, but I first want to clarify nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my opinion, my perspective, and how I think about the situation. Now, Dominic Williams, who again, we all know is the founder of Dfinity, said in a post how Dfinity is transforming itself into an agentic organization, replacing its legacy software as a service with on-demand software as a service that's running on cloud engines. Now, below that as well, he does say how he's excited to report more soon. Now, why do I think it's pretty cool despite ICP being well below $3? Well, it's because, first of all, this does indicate that the push towards the cloud market is really being solidified. I think that's first of all. And why is this even a big deal? Well, it's because the cloud market, it's worth around $1 trillion, at least the last time I saw it. That's really massive. That's bigger than some countries' GDP. That's really impressive. Not to mention, we have to consider as well, this, if anything, kind of indicates that now there's this really even bigger emphasis when it comes to AI. So we have to consider this. What are two big narratives? The cloud market and AI. I think this right here is a very impressive move by Dfinity. But at the same time, people like to say, well, if they're doing all this, why are the charts looking so bad? Well, it's because whatever Dfinity does, all that type of stuff right there is not going to matter at a time like right now. But from the past, from history, what I've realized is that usually this type of stuff matters if the market were to take off later. So all this type of stuff right here, it's like building the foundation. Maybe it's not the coolest thing, maybe it's not the most fantastic thing, but it matters later on. So sometimes people think that, wow, if a project is trying to improve, if the charts don't do anything, that means the project is completely bad. But sometimes I don't think about it that way, because within this space, it works a little bit differently. When it comes to, like, let's say a business, if let's say their net income is really good, if let's say they release a new product, usually it's kind of reflected a little bit in some cases when it comes to the stock price. But when it comes to this space, it doesn't really work that way in some cases. Usually, when it comes to this space, if projects do something pretty cool, if they do something pretty fantastic, if the market's not doing good, if Bitcoin's not popping, if it's not doing anything that amazing, basically, the project just really doesn't do much. That's kind of the norm when it comes to this space. It is what it is, but it's a different space compared to other markets out there. So if I know that and I take a look at these improvements fundamentally, and I take a look at the transformation, basically, I think if anything, it's going to matter later on down the line. It may not matter as of right now, but it could matter later as what we've seen historically speaking. And we have to consider, again, a lot of people thought that Dfinity being focused on the cloud market was a joke. They said it was like basically something that they're not going to treat seriously, it's just going to be for hype and attention. But that seemingly isn't the case. Could you imagine, again, Dfinity transforming itself into an agentic organization? That's really impressive. And again, replacing its legacy software as a service with on-demand software as a service that's running on cloud engines. So again, they're really leaning in towards that cloud market, in my opinion. Pretty impressive. And most importantly, again, cloud engines, the concept of that isn't completely bad. Not to mention, we have to consider as well, Caffeine AI, it's been kind of forgotten about lately for whatever reason. But it's still there, right? We recently saw Caffeine AI version 3. I don't know why a lot of people forgot about it, but it's still there. It's a self-writing apps platform. It just really simplifies, I think, the way that people think about, arguably, just building apps. I really do believe that because, traditionally, if let's say I'm a developer, I want to build something, I need to learn a programming language and all this. In some cases, it's a little bit complicated. And historically, we've seen Dfinity, they have created a programming language called Motoko, which, it's still pretty cool, but we also take a look at how there's other programming languages like Python, C++, and stuff like that that's supported through canister development kits. So again, the internet computer historically hasn't really been a difficult place to really build on. I mean, a lot of people out there use Python, they use C++, they use TypeScript and whatnot. So it's not like it's difficult anyways. But Caffeine AI really transformed, I think, the way people viewed building apps. And I think it just greatly simplified the way developers may want to build, let's say, even on the internet computer. That's just my opinion. Is it necessarily the best of the best invention of all time? No, not really, but I think it's pretty important when it comes to the context of the internet computer. And one thing we do know is that typically, if the market were to pick up, developers usually want to build things. And Caffeine AI is waiting right there. So I think it's really impressive. Now, developers can still choose to not use that and use a programming language that they're familiar with. That's true, but at least the option exists. So when it comes to Dfinity, we have to consider they're putting actually like a lot back in. They spent so far, last time I checked, around $500 million when it comes to research and development. $500 million. That's really impressive. Now, it's spread out over years, though. It wasn't like, at least to my understanding, done all at once like that. Again, it was spread out over years, but pretty impressive. They could have done a lot of things. You know, the other day someone asked me, oh, why didn't they just buy like a building and then take the rental income when it comes to that and just reacquire ICP? But that's like a very short-sighted sort of mindset. In theory, yes, maybe they could have bought a building or whatever, like an apartment building, and then used the rental income to, I don't know, reacquire ICP, who knows? But I don't know about the longevity, because if they do that, they're not really building anything useful for the project, right? They're not actually building any products that are related to their project. That's more so entering the real estate market, in my opinion. So when it comes to this, I understand where that concept could be viewed as a pretty cool thing, especially if it's for a meme or something like that. But when it comes to a project like this, I think it's much better putting it into something like Caffeine AI. Let's say in the case of being focused on the cloud market, that matters a lot more for the longevity of the project, because Dfinity, they're not focused on real estate. You know what I mean? That's not their core focus. Their core focus is actually building, I think, products that are related to this space and could actually improve the project moving forward, not being focused on the real estate market. Even though I could understand that concept, like I could imagine, let's say, a random project that's a meme. They acquired a random building, let's say in Nashville, and they called it whatever the tower is, like a meme tower, and they used the rental income to, reacquire some of the tokens or whatever. I mean, I could understand why some may do that, but this is a little bit of a different case. So I don't think spending roughly $500 million basically on research and development over years is necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that is the case. But besides that, again, ICP is still below $3, but you know what? The recovery in the past 24 hours has been around 4%. Not much, but still. Keep in mind, back in 2024, we saw ICP at almost $19. We're well over 6 times lower than that, in which case, if it just goes to even half of that, I'm already going to sizzler. Did you know that back in November last year, ICP was at around $9? So it's over 3 times higher than where it is as of right now. That's just some food for thought. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I'm saying still, that's a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. So if ICP just goes back to November last year, like we're over 3 times lower than that, that's a little bit ridiculous. But again, it's in a good way though. I don't find it in a bad way, because I like my dips when it comes to my French fries and my chicken tenders, but I also like dips when it comes to the space. I don't mind either way. That's the thing. I like dips. So I'll still gladly wait. I'm still dollar cost averaging once every approximately 30 days. That's all I'm doing. But I'm not telling anyone to do anything. But I'll wait and see what happens. However, again, seeing Dominic Williams recently talk about a transformation and talking about how there's maybe more soon that he's about to report and how he's excited, basically. It's something that I thought I had to talk about because I just found it to be pretty impressive in a good way. So I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.